probably lower that.
Facebook, I have no copyright to the song playing in the background. Um, Good morning, Professor Reeves.
God, I just want to thank you so much. Thank you, oh God, for
Guys, good morning. I can't share the live right now. Can you please share the live? Can you please share the live? Please share it in all your chat rooms. Please share the live. Today's program is not political. Like I told you, Monday is solely dedicated to educating us on things that are affecting us as a person, as a nation, as Liberians, and as people. All right. Uh, During the past 2 Mondays, the first topic we had was rape. What are the factors of rape? What are the causes of rape? The effect on the victim and the perpetrator. And then last week, Monday, we had the significance of health workers, the advantages and disadvantages. Today topic, we will be talking about gerontological social work services. This has to do with old age. This has to do with old age. And simple English, we need to break it down for our layman, our Liberian man, to understand exactly what is happening. Old age, when we talk about old age, one example is you get your mom, you get your pa, and you get up in the morning and you see your father sitting down, or your grandma or your mother sitting down in the living room and defecating, or doing number two, or she get a pot or the dish pan or your dishes, your pot, and she poo-pooing inside. A simple English, the first thing that comes to mind back home in Liberia, especially in the interior, we will say that our mom and pa or our grandma then in which they woman what were here dancing last night to the play, they woman that were there enjoying herself, they money we gather or they men we gather, we see them poo-pooing in the pot, we see them poo-pooing in the pan, eating it, that wish the people in. Ladies and gentlemen, that is not wish. That is something that has to do with aging. So today we will be discussing it. And we have our own Liberian mother, our own Liberian sister by the name of Nancy Reeves. She is a professor in Canada from the sociology department. Welcome, Professor Reeves. The platform is all yours.
Thank you so much, Deb. Thank you very much. You kept me up last night to late this morning, listening to what's going on in Liberia. I must admit, it's very concerning that even one person should die so suspiciously, but when it's happening over and over, it draws the attention of many people, whether you are politicized or not. It's human lives, and I think it should not happen. It creates a lot of fear in society, and people want to be free. I mean, you can never have a free society when people are just suspiciously being killed. So I hope the government of Liberia will stand up to that and make sure that these sort of practices are put in check. Um, but thank you again for having me on your show this morning. We talking about wonderful topic here on gerontology, depth gerontology. It,
Mama, I gotta drink water again. I need to. No, I just gotta drink the water.
it's a Greek word that comes from the word gerund, meaning old man.
Ger,
Gerontology, and the field
gerontology,
gerontology,
guys.
yeah, gerontology, and the field of social work responsible for that, or as part of that academic studies, is called gerontological social work. And we'll talk a lot more about that. But then doctors who go so far to specialize in that are referred to as geriatrics.
How you call them, ma?
Geriatrics.
Ma, baby, let I want your
That is,
piece. Okay.
and then, and then they also refer to them as geriatricians. So
Okay.
it all surrounds the older folks and how we can make the aging process more
Easier.
respectful. And
Mhm.
yeah, as you said, with seeing an older person going to the toilet or so in the pan, right, or doing it right in their own home, you looked at it and say, they could have come outside and done it, but they still maintain some level of dignity and
Take
did
that.
it in the, houses. But what is most important is how we as family members, as friends, as members of the community, looked at that behavior. If that person was not behaving like that, and you see some old signs of these sort of behavior, how do we help them? But in order to help them, we need to understand what is going on, what is that change process, and how we can help. So I'm happy to be here again this morning. As you all know, I am Nancy Rees, of course, a professor here in Canada, a clinician, and of course, the sole proprietor of my own counseling business, registered here in Ontario, Canada. Um, I loved teaching. I love learning, and that's why I'm here with Deb on Mondays and doing the best we can to bring some education. Don't get me wrong; it's not that I hate politics. I love politics, but sometimes we mix it up with education. And I'm thankful, Deb, you've accepted to mix politics with education. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, guys, like we said, this is an important topic today. I'm not on the political battlefront as you usually see Mama G Kid of being destiny in. There are times for everything. The book of Ecclesiastes states there's a time, season, and purpose under the sun. Now is the time for us to understand what is going on. Even I myself sitting down here, look at what is happening in our country. People are aging. What is the factor, you know, relating to why people are not responding the way how they should? People are aging, and because of it, these things are affecting us indirectly or directly. Like I said, this is not politics for one person. Age is not whether you own the ruling party or you own the opposition party. It has to do with you as a person, all right? It affects us cross section of our life. So we need to listen to this, share it, get your children. This is information that will be given out that your children will better understand not only you, but that will understand their way of acceptance, how to go about understanding you as a parent, how they too will want to be treated when they are at our age. On the platform today, we have well educated, a woman schooled in this or taught. So I want you to grab your food. It's Sunday. Grab your Sunday food. Get your children. Sit around this. Forget about me being that Mama G that like to fight on the other side. This is where we go in the classroom, put away our arms, our ammunition, and pick up the books and learn something that will benefit us. Now, Doc, before we go into this topic, I know very well that this topic, someone was telling me that being a professor or someone that will teach this course is very expensive. But today, here we are getting it free of charge. Can you just give us an insight as to whether what's the cost of such teaching it is in the developed world? Can you just throw a light on it before we delve into our topic?
Well, thank you so much, Deb. I'll tell you that the field of gerontology it is expensive, as you know. And we'll talk a lot about the statistics of it in terms of the global aging. We are all aging. It's aging is it's something we, except you die young. Other than that, we will all grow old. So the need for those services will absolutely increase as we age. And in order to become a gerontological social worker or geriatrician or geriatrics, you have to go to school, right? Except like something we have where people learn. It's not something you can learn because it's almost like a science that you have to learn about what's happening to people in terms of the brain and how the brain is functioning or not functioning in terms of the memory, in terms of the actions and inactions and all of that. So it is expensive. And you believe you mean I was looking at one of the courses that is now being offered at the University of Toronto here in Canada. And to teach that course, it's called health aging. It's $9,000 a month. Did I say
Now
a year?
$1,000 a month just to teach this course that you're going to give it to us free today?
Absolutely,
Oh,
9,000. And the nitty gritty of the course is not even part of what we're going to be talking about here today. Because when I was reading the course description, they were talking about the theories of aging. It is very simplistic. When I read the outline, I'm like, wow, this is such an easy course because aging, the courses they develop the curriculum from different segments of the areas of learning or the specialization. And for this particular course, they only focusing on the theories of aging, like continuity theory,
yeah.
activity theory, and so forth. But what we're looking at here today goes beyond even the theories of aging. It goes a lot into global stats on aging and the stages of dementia and some of the activities that one undergoes as their brain declines. Sometimes people use the word demented. I try to stay away from it because it's like saying you are crazy, right? Instead of this mental health issues going on. So sometimes the wordings are important because, um, yeah, if I can stop there and say that it is an expensive area, it is. Yeah,
Thank you, Doc. Guys, you heard it from the horse's mouth. This course on aging, how to understand your oma, your opa, your grandpa, and how you want your children to understand you. This is why I'm here today, along with Doctor, to help us to understand. Knowing very well the health sector in our country right now is in a deplorable state is in a deplorable state. We do not have qualified specialists to be there to diagnose what is happening to our parents. So I'm begging you guys, please, for the sake of God, for the sake of our elderly people, the people that are even in the street right now, some of them are not crazy because when these things are happening because of lack of knowledge and ignorance, we term our people as being crazy and they are in the street not knowing they are being neglected and abandoned by us simply because we just do not understand them. This course, this teaching today is free. All I'm asking of you is to share. Please share. So Doc, let's start this ball rolling. What is social work?
very interesting question, Debbie, because in order to become a gerontological social worker, you must be in the area of social work. But a social work here would say it's both an academic and a practice discipline, and that involves the theory and practice. You must go into a classroom for if you're doing the diploma for 2 years, or what we call in Liberia most of the time associate degree, or you go for 4 years and do your bachelor of social work. And after all of those year sections, you have to go and do your practicum for about a year. So it's both an academic and a practice discipline, and sometimes the academic area refer to it as the epistemology of social work of any profession, whether sociology, psychology, anthropology, economics, or so forth. The academic part of it, there where you learn the terminologies and concepts and all of those. So the epistemological aspect of social work is very important. Then after that, you go into your practice area and actually practice hands-on to work with individual. So, but it mostly concerns with the working with individuals, right? We work with individuals, work with families, work with groups, we work in the communities and all of those. And the goal here is to enhance the social functioning of individuals. Sometimes we use the word as social workers enable people. No, we don't enable people. We help them to become, the goal is to become more self reliant, to enhance their well being, to take them from that state of hopelessness to that state of hopefulness. So that's just a little gist of what social workers do, and we get into the different branches of social work. But that's the ultimate goal, to enhance the well-being of individual from that state of hopelessness to that state of hopefulness, and that involves gerontology or gerontological social work with the older people too. Yeah.
All right. Having said that, we define what is social work. Can you tell us what are the area of specialization?
Oh, there are so many of them. You find social workers all over, whether in the communities, working in different community organizations and associations and so forth. You hear a lot about child and family services. When you do something to your children at home, when they pick up the phone and call the police, you getting the social worker coming along there. So we work in the areas of child and family services. You have social workers in the schools working with children who's experiencing some other issues, when it comes to coping with the academic work and all of that, but could be as a result of what's going on in their homes. You have social workers, a lot now have expanded, like in Canada, I know, and I hear a lot in the US on mental health, on in the areas of mental health, talked about all of these things that are going on now with this pandemic and other social stressors that we have in our lives that can have a severe impact on our cognition. So you have a lot of social workers in mental health. You have social workers in substance abuse, right? Issues with substance abuse, why people taking to drugs and addictions and all of those. You have social workers in that area. That's one of the areas I also I worked in. Every week, I work with about 18 to 25 individuals who've abusing or misusing substance. You have social workers in the criminal justice system, who are there to help individuals who've been taken to prisons or whatnot. How do you rehabilitate them that when they come up, they can become better persons than when they went in, and also reduce that level of what we term recidivism. But you also have social workers in the military, veterans, right? People who have gone to war and returned from war and experiencing the psychosocial impact, or sometimes we refer to it a lot of the times as PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. You have social workers in those areas working with military families and whatnot. But you also have social workers in administration, right? My master's degree is in social service, policy analysis, and administrative practice. So you have social workers in that area that can be CEOs of NGOs and other community organizations. You also have social workers with the elderly that we will be talking about today. You have social workers with immigrant and refugees, war affected individuals. My PhD is on the trauma of war. So, as a social worker, I'm looking at the trauma of war and how social work services can be improved to better the lives of individuals who, by no means of their, minding their business, had to deal with war, and now they're dealing with the impact, the aftermath of those wars. And you name it, they're in the hospitals. Every department of the hospital has social workers, whether in the women's delivery, whether in on the delivery ward, whether in the children's ward, whether in its area that has to do with every function of the body, the brain, the kidney, you name it. You have social workers in all of those areas. Yeah. So
Thank you.
social workers do a hell of a lot of work in these areas, and the actual goal is to listen to those individuals and see how best we can enhance their well-being, even in the situation that they're experiencing. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Like I did the prerequisite I have for BSc in sociology, and I tell you something, I'm still thinking where to specialize in, whether it's social work, whether it's mental health. I'm still contemplating, but we will discuss because I'm looking more into the mental aspect because based upon what you just said, I believe that with my expertise and my way of interacting with people, I think I can better help in that field because you have to put yourself in the person's shoes and understand why it is happening. So I think I need to go to your class and your counseling section and get my own accounts made to be able to help other people. So that's one thing I think I will reach out to you for. So having, a touch on social work or the specialization, can you tell us about this uh gerontology? Wait, I'm coming. Let me drink more water. hmm Every time to call the word, I got to something is gerontology. Yeah, can you
Yeah.
tell us it? What is it, man?
Yeah, I would just go back to what you said in terms of wanting to get into social work, or take social work up as your professional. Mental health is a part of social work. You can, most likely, your master's specialize in mental health,
Yeah.
right? And
Yes.
I say to individuals, I want very good thing you do because all of the knowledge and skills you learn from your bachelor of social work you bring it into your master's of social work and you specialized. So all of your research and everything is on mental health. You'll be looking at the different aspects of mental health, but not just learning it theoretically, but also learning how to get out there and practice. So you can do your master's in social work and decide to do your practice or your field placement with individuals within an organization that provides services to individuals with mental health issues, and you get a vast amount of knowledge there. So, going to gerontology, what is gerontology? Is that field of studies that deal with the social, cultural, psychological, and of course, as we say, the mental health aspect of individuals who are older in terms of their cognition, in terms of the biological aspect of aging. What do we want to know as we age? I tell people this, and even my class when I teach, I say, you will never remain the person you are until you die. You were born until you die. We will all age. We all age every day. You look at yourself, people make fun sometimes, and we all
Yeah.
do it and say, the older you become, things starts to go down south.
Exactly.
Right. So the work of gerontological social work of gerontology is to look at the culture. What culture are people aging in? How are they aging socially, right? Psychologically. What is the cognitive ability? How is it declining? Now, don't get me wrong here. Not everyone's cognitive ability would decline because they are old, but a lot of people, even as young as we are, sometimes we forget.
Exactly. It's happening now. hmm
we forget, right? And we get to some of the things we need to do to keep our cognition really in place, right? So the word was actually coined from the Greek word meaning gera. So gerontology is that field of studies that focus on the individuals older others and the aging process and the well-being. We got a word we call age gracefully. How do we age gracefully? By having dementia, which we get to, or Alzheimer's, or any other age, illness as we age, does not mean we should be left in the rot. You can still have those illnesses as you age, but age in a graceful way. But aging gracefully has a lot to do with how we treat ourselves when we are young.
Okay.
Because if you treat yourself better when you are young, last week we talked about what we eat, right? So
Yeah.
it's very important to that.
Thank you so much, Doc. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. For those of you guys joining us today, we are talking on the topic of gerontology. It has to do with aging. All right. And I will keep giving a little descriptive of what the whole topic is about. You get up in the morning, your mother or father in the bathroom taking bath, and you know how when you bathe in the baby, they just jump out of the bathroom, running out in the street. All right. She's not in witchcraft activities, neither is he. They're not crazy. They are aging, and something is wrong, something is happening because they are aging. Or you see her, she poo poo, she finish poo pooing, or they finish poo pooing. Sorry, guys, we have to give it as it is. And then they put their hands in it. I experienced this. I took care of my mom. Let me tell you something, okay? I took care of my mother at the age of 89 years old. Oh God, Father God, I wish this knowledge that I acquired as a social scientist. And then when I came to the States, I went into the nursing field. I got to understand what my mother was going through. Not only aging, but my mother had dementia, she had Alzheimer's, she had Parkinson's. It was not easy. You bathing my mom, the nurse bathing my mother, they would call me, oh, we're bathing your mom, or she ran out of the bathroom. Or the woman, she's sitting now in the place there, she now poo poo on herself, and she playing with it. Guys, can you imagine? I mean, because of what I went through, because of what some of you guys are going through or been through. This is why this topic is very important. Because, like I said, like Doc is saying, we aging per day from the day that your mom brought you forth, whether it was for C-section or normal birth, you began your aging process until you get into the ground. Now you need people to understand when you are going through these phases, these changes. We need them to understand, to be more tolerant, more patient, to know we are going through this. So thank you so much, that guys, this is not political. This has to do with our day-to-day lives, our entire livelihood as a being. So you attack everyone, the government right now. You know, when you call a truth, you put a white flag up. Today, every Monday is a white flag up. As Doc said, we will be doing it every other Monday. Every other Monday is a white flag where we will put aside our differences and come together as Liberians, come together as human, and we discuss things that will be affecting us directly or indirectly. And today's topic has to do with aging. What are the symptoms? What are those things for you to understand when you see people behaving like they are crazy, quote unquote? So, Doc, having or giving us the definition of social work, their specialties, or gerontology, can you tell us who are considered elderly?
Very good, Deb, because the word elderly or the age specification of an elderly person varies from country to country, continent to continent, right? In North American society, we'll say you start to refer to people 55 and older as seniors. People retire here at 55 after working for about 25 or more years. But most of the age that they also looked at is 65, or 67, which is not a retirement age. It may not be the same in Africa, in the African context, but it depends on region to region and people to people. But in terms of the service provision, people 55 and over in North American side, you can have some services. You know, you walk in the mall and you hear people say special discount for seniors, right? So it varies with people in these different parts of the world, either 55 or 65 and older. But we got a different sections of that. So 65 to about 70 something, you call it young old. 70 something to 80 something, you call it middle old. 80 something up to about 100, you call it old old,
Yeah.
right? So these are individuals who gerontological social workers provide those services for, especially 55 downward to the 100. But again, it depends on the context of the place. And a lot of people you will call an old person, they will get upset with you, right? And say, I'm not old, don't call me an old, right? You call some people senior citizens and whatnot. But what is most important is the services that are attached to those specific age in the society we find ourselves in. Yeah.
No. Okay. Thank you so much for clarifying who are considered elderly. Doc, can we go to the next question: why the need for gerontological social work services?
Well, Deb, I can even explain this more than what you just said. And thank you so much for bringing the experience, your personal experience or lived experience with your mother, right? And that's the sort of education we need, especially in the developing world. When a person who was getting up, educated person, going to work, doing everything, looking so wonderful and beautiful, all of a sudden you find them sitting in the house and using the eating bowl to toileting, you know something is not going on right. But because the society we find ourselves in, we're not educated to these things, we may think the person has witch. Or you eat it, you the bowl you ate in, the cup you drank out of, you end up toileting in it. But in the North American and developed society, we say something is not right here. And that has a lot to do with the functioning of the brain, right? I'll give you a little something here. I was in Gaborone, Botswana in 2007. They're working as a project social worker with the World University Services of Canada and the Canadian International Development Agency. And I decided to do some workshop with the Department of Social Services of Botswana and on gerontological social work services. And I can tell you that everyone in that room said, "Oh my God, my auntie is doing this. My uncle is doing this." There was a lady who even said her aunt who lives with her walked away straight into the river.
Hmm.
They don't know where they're going. They've just lost sight of who they are. And they can walk right into that river and get drowned. They can put on the stove and forget that they even put it on, or lit the coal pot and forget it and put food on and burn it. So these are things that in this part of the world, gerontological social workers, geriatricians, um, um, uh, and others involved in the care for the older folks are very concerned with. So, as I told you, we're also concerned with the cultural, social, psychological, cognitive well-being of the older folks. But we try to really help them cope with the aging process, because the aging process for many people is hell. It's
Hmm.
tough. Other than the physiological illness that comes with it, you're talking about, of course, the mental health that comes with it. And of course, a lot of people age in poverty, right? And that's a big concern that we looked at when we get on the topic of racism. How immigrants, some immigrants and in this part of the world are aging in with age in a huge amount of poverty. We term it as a double jeopardy, where racism is going on now and preventing people from actually working and accumulating enough wealth to care for themselves by the time they age. By the time you age in North America, you must have almost $1 million to care for your retirement, right? Well, good enough, the government has some money in place, but the research has shown that it does not really help that much. So, of course, older folks, especially immigrants and refugees here, would need a lot more services. How do you get to those services? You need gerontological social workers to come over and do the assessment and understand what the needs are. We also look at those emotional issues that they experience. Now, some of the things, and when I talked about these, I'm speaking a lot in the North American context, but I'll be bringing the developing world because good enough, we all were born there and we grew up there, Deb. So the
Exactly. Yes,
emotional
exactly.
impact of it, right? As these people age, and all of these responsibilities coming, whether financial, social, culture, and all of that, it comes with a lot of emotional issues. Gerontological social workers are there to help deal with some of these emotional issues. And as I always say to people, some of these emotional issues stems from our day-to-day complex of our day-to-day lives, right? If you get up and you worried about paying your bills, of course it's going to be emotionally wrecking, mind wrecking for you. So if you can have someone to sit with, now that you're not working, you are retired, you can have someone to sit with you and talk about what's going on, and link you or network you to those appropriate services. That calms down your emotional, stress.
Stress.
Gerontological social workers will deal with financial challenges as part of the linkage to the emotional issues. Um, you will believe you me, Deb. I work in a long-term care home as not only as a CNA, or India in Canada we call a healthcare aide or personal support worker when I was doing my undergrad. But I also work as a gerontological social worker in a long-term care home. And financial abuse, financial abuse is a
Huh.
problem, right? I've seen a lot of, children who financially abuse their parents. When they know the password for their bank cards, they
Hmm.
run off with it, right? So we help older folks to assign that proxy or power of attorney to them when it comes to their financial well-being, right? So make sure the person who signed and the name on that paper is the one who cares for all of the financial issues concerning them. So that challenge comes, but we also provide counseling, right, that deals with the mental health situation. Um, and that's part falls under the therapeutic aspect of caring for the older individuals. We help them cope with those day-to-day experiences that may come in. We also help with a work along with what we term as the multidisciplinary team or the interdisciplinary team: doctors, the nurses, the in the states you guys call it the CNAs,
Yeah.
the psychotherapist, the occupational therapist, you name it. We work with all of them as a team to make sure, dietitians, to make sure that the elderly person is provided those needed services, right? Um, we also looked at some of the other social problems that they experience, and we talk a lot more about with the Alzheimer's and dementia and so forth. Yeah, so you can see it's a lot that has been done. I can tell you when you working, from my experience in a long-term care home, working in gerontology, you get there in the morning and you are on your feet, man. You are on your feet from being called that they were left on the toilet. Say,
Mm-hmm.
they put me on the toilet and they didn't take me off for 1 hour. So you have
Wow.
to get there and listen to them,
Mm-hmm.
tell their story, and then go to that CNA who put
Yeah.
him or her on the toilet and did
Mm-hmm.
not keep them there for
Mm-hmm.
1 hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give you a story here about a lady in the long-term care home that I worked in,
Yeah.
who, when I got to work that morning, was called to say she um, uh, was complaining. And I went in, did the assessment, and she said, of course, she was put on the toilet for more than 1 hour. Now, don't get me wrong, you got a CNA working in these places and running. You assign almost 10 residents a
Yes.
day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you put someone on the toilet, now don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean it's right,
I
right?
know.
But by the time you come back to that person, you have about 6, 7 more persons that you're going to see,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And that, of course, can create the sort of neglect.
Yes.
It's neglect,
Yes.
honestly, right?
Yeah.
It's not right, but it is neglect
Mm-hmm.
or neglectfulness on the part of the
The
but it's
caregiver. Yeah.
the caregiver. So I went in, did an assessment with her, and she said, "But you know what I'm talking about? I'm thinking about doing the answer." I said, "No." She said, "I'm going to kill myself." Oh wow! Now this woman has a plan of what she wants to do. She's telling you definitely she has a plan. And the one thing we do is to find out what the plan is.
Mm-hmm.
You can just find it. Oh, don't worry, she has dementia. She doesn't know what she's
Yeah.
talking. Oh, no, 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 no. You don't do that. So I got there to her and asked her, "What's the plan? What? How do you plan to do this?" The fact that she was using the scooter, and she said, "Come, follow me, Nancy." This older lady held my hands, Deb, took me outside, and she said, "Do you see that cart?" And the cart she was pointing to was the medication cart. When the
Mm-hmm.
nurses give the
Mm-hmm.
medication, there was a cart. And I said, "Yes, I see the cart." She said, "What do you see on that cart?" This woman schooling me now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember, this woman
Yeah.
was 86 years old, and
Yes.
I'm working there. I was like 30 something. And she said, "What do you see on the cart?" And I said, "It's medicine." She said, "I can ride from here and go there and just pick up those medicine and swallow them." That was something, very important. So what I did was I took what she said back to my supervisor, and my supervisor was able to call the nurses and all of those, and then we got up to management, and so we were able to stop those carts. The nurses will put the carts there, leave, and go to the room to give medications. So the policy was now passed that no more carts in the hallway. But I'm just saying this because these are some of the things we do, right? Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Hmm. Professor Reeves, I remember, like, I'm giving you life experience. My mom, at certain time of the night or the day, my mom would just say, "Oh, what time is it?" She always asks me, "What time is it?" And and God just put into me, do not give her the exact time. So if
Hmm.
it's 12 o'clock, I will always tell her it's after 2. Then she will say, "Oh, okay." I never told her. And when I took up my assignment, then I was working with WFP. I was assigned in Nima. I had to leave my mom in the care of a nurse, a live-in nurse. And I told them whenever my mom asked for the time, never give her the exact time. Two, another thing she used to do in the night, when all of a sudden I would get up and yeah, my mom in her room, and what she's doing, she have packed, she got her little bag, she not put on shoes, she got a hat on her head. And I asked her, she said, "I'm traveling. I'm traveling." And
Yeah.
the people at the water side, they're waiting for me.
Yeah.
They got the canoe. They got the canoe. And that's why I learned that when people are about to pass away, they see people. And I feel, I don't know how true it is, that there is a river before you die. There is a river that you must cross, because most time, even as a caregiver, when I was working in a group homes, because I got it from my mom experience, and then I heard them saying this. "Oh, the people are bringing a boat and we have to cross this river. The river is before us, we must cross it." So my mom used to get dressed in the night with her cap and everything, got her bag, her handbag is on her shoulder at 12, 2 o'clock in the morning. "Mom, where are you going?" "Oh, the people at the riverside, they have brought the canoe and they want us to cross over." So I said, "Okay," but I talked to them and they said they're going to bring the other canoe. "So what you need to do, Mama, let me pack these things, then put a wrapper you on the bed and lie down and sleep a little. When they come, I will wake you up." She said, "Oh, for you, you wake me up, baby?" I said, "Yes, Mama." And I will put her back in bed. And that's how it was. So this thing, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, one way or the other, you will be faced with it, or you are experiencing it. You got your mom, your pa, your grandma, or your grandaunt, somebody within your family is experiencing these symptoms. And it's very good to listen to what Dr. Reed is saying. Like she said, this thing is very expensive. You paying somebody $9,000 per month. $9,000. 2 months, that's 16,000. 9 plus 9, $18,000. All right, just for 2 months. And you are getting it free, like Grandpa, we left free thing. So you please, guys, take this topic today seriously, because you may find yourself sooner or later in the position that we are talking about. Doc, can you give us globally a statistic, all right, on aging? What are the statistics on aging globally? Let's look at it from a holistic point of view globally.
Thank you, Deb. I would want us to look at the scenario you just gave, right? Because when we walked into the rooms or anywhere with a older elderly person, we looked at scenarios and how we can sort of do a thorough assessment for intervention purpose. So let's use your mom respectfully for what you just said. What did your mom do in life?
Oh, my mother was a home wife and she was a pastor. Yeah.
A pastor. How do you relate that wanting to get up and go out, get dressed, and the timing and doing things in her older age to what she was when she was younger? Is there any connection to that? You
Oh,
said when she
she was always going out, sharing the word of God, going to churches in the street, preaching. Even like I said, there was something that I spoke of, the late William R. Talbot. When my mom went to him and told him there's supposed to be a 13-week cleanup camping in the nation because God was so angry with the nation. And my mother always had her backpack. She said, because when you carry the message to people, they don't like it and they will end up putting you in jail. And sure enough, this day my mom went to her bank and everything. And when she told Torba, she spoke about the Masonic, she talked about the bloodshed, the innocent people that were killing a person, suppression. They put my mom in jail.
fantastic. So what it's saying here is your mom was a very busy woman in her life.
Yes.
She was a very busy woman. She even though she was a wonderful housewife taking care of all of you, her children, she still had other things she did in her professional life.
Yeah.
Now, you know the theory, gerontological social work or gerontology attached to that, activities theory, continuity theory. That is it. Because this was a woman busy. Even in old age, she still
Yes. Always
that long,
packing,
yeah,
packing
yeah,
clothes. Oh
yeah,
God.
that long-term memory. A lot of what happened, the short-term memory goes away when, and we get into that. When a person has dementia,
Oh
so
my
the
God.
short-term memory goes. You can tell them something here now, and they forget it quickly. But the long-term memory, I got a very good friend whose husband he's up to the third stage of the Alzheimer's disease. He can still sing those songs. He can still pray. He still does everything he did 50 years ago. But if you try to talk with him now, it's so distorted. So I know in our culture, African culture, we say we give other stories to that behavior. But in the Western culture, we say what kind of programs and services we can develop to keep Mrs. Chroma, your mother's, to keep Mama, what's your mother's name? I don't want to just
Will it
refer to,
matter? Will it matter?
to keep Mama Willamette active because she was a very active woman when she was in her young age. So we gerontological social workers were designed, and that's why when you go into the long-term care homes, you see a lot of games and things being played, bingo. They got the chapel with church services. It's the continuity theory that has been put in place, but also the activities theory that has been done there. I just wanted to emphasize on that and how we do the assessment and develop programs and services for them. And you see how we in the developing world think a little different from in the developed world,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
So the global aging, I can say it right here. The population, the world is aging globally. Believe it is aging globally. According to the World Health Organization, the world is aging globally. Individuals 60 years and older by 2017, we had about 962 million individuals 60 and over 2017, right? And what happened, that was a double from 1980. In 1980, we had 382 million
Wow.
individuals 60 and older. By 2017, we had 962 million individuals 60 and over, right? And the number It's estimated or forecasted that by 2050 we will have 2.1 billion.
Wow. That's huge.
That's huge. 2017 to 2050, 2017 we had 962 million. 2050, 2050, this is 2020.
20, yes.
2050,
30,
we're going
yes.
to have 2.1 billion is projected. Looking at the trend in the aging and the growth in the aging population, right? So worldwide, we say though um, um, there's a decline in birth rate, right? But people are not having children. Long ago,
Yeah.
people you could have about 12 children to one mother. A woman who gave birth to about 12 children in the developing world. My
Yeah.
mother had about 12 children.
My mother
I
had
have,
10.
yeah, I have one. I have one. Right. So in this developed world, because we talk about global age now, in this developed world, it's even worse. You know, we talked about last week. A lot of women in the developed world put education first, and we also following it in the developing world. We are having less children. So of course, if you're not having more children to meet up with that, then you
Yeah.
have more people living longer. So
Longer.
yeah,
Yeah.
so you see why the aging population is increasing. By 2030, let's go to a closer year, individuals, the elderly population will reach to about 1.35 billion 2030,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
And that would be even more than children under 10 years. Children under 10 years will be 1.41 billion, right? No, I'm sorry about that. The aging population will be 1.41 billion compared to 1.35 billion of children under 10.
So
So
children
do
are
that.
also affected.
The aging population will even surpass
Wow.
young children. So
Wow.
whilst the aging population will be 1.41 billion,
Yeah.
children under 10 would just be 1.35 billion,
Wow.
right? So by 2050, we already projected that it would be as far as 2 point something billion of individuals who are older, right? So globally, now this is a fearful part, those 80 and over. Now tell me when you 80, how much of the energy you have. 80 and over is projected that there would be about 425 million globally. 80 years.
Yeah.
I mean, we now where we are,
Yes.
sometimes you wake up, your bones even,
You're
you're rocking,
hurting.
it hurting, right? But 80, imagine at that age of being 80 years old, there would be 425 million individuals globally. And you know what? Two-thirds of that number would be in the developing world, including Liberia.
Oh my God.
Two-thirds. If we did fraction in school,
Yeah.
take out two-thirds of the
Yeah.
whole, two-thirds of that, that means 66 point something percent would be from the developing world, 80 years old. And I know someone is wondering and saying, well, the developing world is so poor, how come people are living longer? Older people don't take as much risks as younger people do. After the war in Liberia, someone told me in Buchanan, there were so many older people on the streets. Did you see old people fighting the war? No. There were a lot of young people that fought the war and died,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
older people take less risks and they live longer. And with the education and technology around, they're making use of it. That's why in the developing world,
Yeah.
right? So those are things we need to take into consideration and start to plan those services for older people in the developing world as much as the developed world is doing because the entire globe is aging. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's something to really, 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 really. I mean, shock us, and we need to consider how to go about educating our people. This is why there's a need now for these things to be taught into the school, not only at the university level, but to teach our children. Because while these children are in grade school, these things are happening. It's occurring every day, So when these kids are accustomed to what aging is all about, I think people will understand better how to go about handling our aging parents. Okay, Doc, having said that, can you tell us what are some of the illnesses associated with aging?
Well, that's very cool, Deb, because there's a lot of arguments around with research critiques and whatnot that by aging doesn't mean you should be sick,
Okay.
right? But it's typical example, heart disease. Even though the research said that there will be an exponential rate in these diseases as one ages, but it also care for that the way we take care of ourselves. It's very important. My father's father was 101 years old, and I saw him. He was a slim man. Though, as I look back, he had dementia because we would just sit in Yucatan and see this man coming from Bassett. He just jumped in one car there, and he was in Monrovia to come and see his son. But he was really healthy. Do we die from old age? Oh, yeah. People die when you get very old and so forth. People die. But we need to be very careful with how we live, what we eat, the exercise, and all of those things we do in our youthful age that we can grow old, healthy, even though your heart would never be the same when you were born and when you're 50. It would never be the same. Those are organs in the body that deteriorate. Right. So, of course, with associated illnesses, right? So, like cardiovascular disease, like last week, I mispronounced that word when I said corona heart disease. It was
Mm-hmm.
actually coronary heart disease, right? Cardiovascular disease, very prominent amongst older people now. My fear is with the developing world, where a country like Liberia, I knew of one cardiologist who came from Egypt, right? How many will we have to care for this increased number of aged that the World Health Organization has forecasted? How many of these cardiologists are we going to have? Cancer, think about all the types of cancer, right? It's pretty much amongst the older folks. How many urologists do we have there in the developing world, especially in Liberia, to look at some of these arthritis, right? The last time I went to do how do you call this MRI on my right knee, and I was told that I had a little cyst somewhere there, like arthritis is developing in there, right? So I may
Yeah.
have to go and get it out quickly. I can feel the pain in the knee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine when I turn 80, if I don't
Mm.
take care of this, what is going to be?
Yeah.
Cataract, right? Cataracts with
Yeah.
respect to the eye,
Yeah.
right? And osteoporosis, the bones, right? Type 2 diabetes, hypertension, of course, dementia, Alzheimer's disease, and you name it. According to the World Health Organization, all of these increases as we age. But we can always, it doesn't mean, oh, don't worry, I'm not worried about that. When I get old, I will still have osteoporosis or hypertension, or that you can prevent it. And last week, we talked about the way we eat.
Yes.
It's hypertension, it can be inherited, but it doesn't mean it should kill us. We
Mm-hmm.
should be watchful of how we eat all
What
the
we
palm
eat.
butter and
Yeah.
the tabagi, cassava
Tteokbokki.
leaf,
Yes.
and you
The
name it.
oil. We love a
It-
lot of cholesterol in Liberia.
a lot of the cholesterol that we build up in our bloodstream. Yeah, so these are some of them that the World Health came up with age, and it at an increased rate with individuals who are 65 and older.
Thank you so much, Doc. Fellow listeners, for some of you guys just joining us, this is an important topic that has to do with aging. We all will age. We all are aging. But we're trying to understand what are the symptoms, what are those things that can help us live a better life when we reach to the stage of aging, how to better cope, how to better treat those that have aged or that are aging, because we too will find ourselves one day in their shoes. Today, on my platform and every other Monday, we will be having Dr. Professor Reed, sorry, from Canada, who will be enlightening us on various topics. Two Mondays ago, we had the topic rape. Last week, Monday, we were on healthcare, health giver, the importance, the advantages and disadvantages. Today, we are looking at aging, the elderly. Professor Reeves, well, can we look at dementia and Alzheimer's diseases? Can you tell us when people say dementia or Alzheimer? Can you tell us is it a disease or what it is? Really, what
Well,
is
it
it?
is a disease. It
Okay.
is a disease of the brain.
Uh,
Dementia is a disease of the brain, and it's an umbrella terminology for a few other diseases of the brain. Like any parts of the body that has some specific disease, dementia specifically to the
yeah.
brain, and it's just an overall term that we use. But what it does to the brain is it causes a lot of memory loss to the brain.
Wow.
If you looked at it, just the next time, maybe sometime we'll do a sharing here, and we looked at how the brain looks that is impacted with dementia. In the field of gerontology, we got a term we refer as tangles, like tangling like threads
Yeah.
all over the brain, entangles the brain, and it squishes the brain. So what happens is, as it squishes the brain, like it drives the brain into and has an impact on all of the functionings of the brain. We'll talk about your memory. The memory goes away. The short-term memory through the window. The long-term memory, some remains there, of course, but that's what dementia does. That umbrella terminology. And under dementia is Alzheimer's disease, right? So we say dementia is the disease of the brain that affects the brain in terms of specifically the memory, individual's memory, but also the mobility, because when Alzheimer's sets in as one of the diseases under the umbrella of dementia, it impacts the movement, the mobility, and all of that. You see a lot of older folks and think, oh, individuals with Alzheimer's using wheelchairs and crutches and walkers and so forth. Now, let me get this clear. Dementia is not the only disease for an older person. I have seen someone as young as 42 in a long-term care home with severe dementia. The research is being done. They can't really lay hands on what specifically causes this. Some say it's hereditary issue. I read something once that said a lot of education. I jumped. I said, "Oh my God," you know. But they attributed it to a lot of other factors for why individuals experience this disease of the brain, and it creates a lot of difficulties in individuals' thought process, right? The language, the speech, right? The ability to perform those activities of daily living in the field of gerontology. Now, I don't want to just put this one. If you are working as a um, CNA with older people, you are in the field of gerontology.
Okay.
I'll say this to people. When I came to Canada, I came as a business student in 2000. I went into my first business class, and I can tell you, I completed the course, but I didn't really like it because I had already come from Ghana and completed an advanced certificate in marketing. And I've said, like, why am I repeating this thing over and over? I'm in a different country. I need to learn something different. So I took a 6 weeks course long-term care, and I love it. Caring for the older people, it just reminded me of my grandparents
Yes.
because I saw all four of my grandparents, my dad, two parents, my mom. I enjoy it. Then I said, but what can I do in the university here in gerontology? Then I found social work. And then social work had a specialization of gerontology that drifted me into it. So I could leave. Then I worked my whole undergrad as a CNA in gerontology or with the older folks. But then was doing my bachelor degree. So whenever I left the long-term care home over the weekend, I went right to class with that practical knowledge. So
Yes.
believe you me, I was the only student in my class that was working as a CNA with older folks and in the Bachelor of Social Work program. I could really connect theory to practice.
Practical. Yes.
It was
Hands-on
very
learning.
good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the activities of and this story brings me to the whole activities of daily living that we undertake.
Yes.
Washing, dressing,
Grooming.
grooming,
Yeah.
all of that. And then that's what we help with, right? With individuals living with the disease of dementia or Alzheimer's, the activities of daily living, like they get up in the morning and know what to do, it's all real scattered, right? We are there to guide them with respect to that. But that's what dementia does to an individual, right? The behavior, it changes the behavior, right? They behave very erratically, right? With certain things that we talked about, depositing in the bowl or that it wants eating, like getting up and saying, what is the time? And all of that. I found that sometimes very hard to deal with when I had to do what you call the mini mental skills exam, the MMSC, in the long-term care homes, because you have to sit with a person that you know has dementia or first or second stage of Alzheimer's disease, and you say to them, "What time is it?" That's enough of distortion of the mind. But of course, the science wants to know as to whether the person can tell the time of the day. So the assumption is when the sun is up, it's 12 noon. And that person is sitting there and struggling and saying, well, I think it's let's see outside. I think it's 12 o'clock. You know, but what hurt me most was if that person did not get the time right or could use the word and, buts, and so forth, that was a justification for taking away the medication. I mean, that doctor would just stand there and say, no, zero, take away the medication. Great. Okay. But then there where we came in as gerontological social workers and say, what can we bring in to keep them going? And one of the things that we found out that research has found out is music,
Yes.
music, gardening, guiding it. Very important because when they plant those seeds and go watering them and see them germinating and all of that, then the other thing we looked at is the bingo, the church services, the social
And
interactions,
yeah.
and all of that. Yeah, I'm talking a lot this morning.
Exactly, exactly. And for free too. Liberians, grab
Yeah.
this knowledge because I mean, if you were to travel from Liberia in case something happened to you, you will pay huge, huge, huge amount of money. But if you understand it, you'll be able to cope and know how to go about this. Doc, when we were discussing Alzheimer and dementia, can we look at the differentiation between both of them?
Oh, absolutely. As I said, dementia is the umbrella terminology, right? Yeah, for Alzheimer's, and Alzheimer's is one of those, right? Dementia, it's at the top, and then you have different types of dementia. You have sometimes vascular dementia. You have frontal lobe dementia. So it attacks all parts of the brain.
Wow.
And I would say to anyone watching this show, just Google the effect of dementia on the brain of a person, and you will see all those tanglings and things going on. So Alzheimer is under. dementia, one of those diseases that is categorized under dementia there. So while the term also it's a disease of the brain, but dementia is the umbrella, that the big mommy of the Alzheimer's disease. And it's happening, it's very interchangeably happening. People try to say, oh, the person has dementia, they has Alzheimer's, but until it's diagnosed to that level. So, as I said, dementia is not one specific. You got different types of dementia, and Alzheimer's disease is one of those types of dementia, right? And but the symptoms are very similar. The symptoms can be very similar with respect to the forgetfulness, with respect to the memory loss, with respect to the language impairment, with respect to the mobility. The symptoms are very much similar to that. Yeah.
So can we look at the type and stages of dementia?
Oh, that's very important, because that we need to know, because if we it's a degenerative disease. That's it. That's a fearful part of it. But hey, a good friend of mine, as I was saying, whose husband has he's Alzheimer's. She said, Nancy, something would have killed him. Something would kill us all, right? And she's taking it so. She's a very good Christian. She's taking it so well that she decided not to put her husband in a long-term care home. She has him home and is giving him every nutritional thing. He's in his 90s and doing very well. His speech is totally gone in terms of reasoning and processing words, but he's mostly in the third stage and doing very well. So, of course, there are stages of dementia. The first stage we have is the earlier stage, right, where people in this stage experience what you call mild impairment, right? The symptoms are very mild, and it includes forgetfulness. It starts with it. It starts right with forgetfulness. They don't know where they place their keys. Oh, I have my key here, not too long. Every time you hear them, I don't know where I placed my key. And they're looking for it. That mild forgetfulness it starts with. When it comes to difficulties in learning new things, right? Those are symptoms to watch for. Following the trend of conversations, right? Difficulties when it comes to concentrating, right? And the attention span, very short attention span. It comes with a lot of little anger, right? The mood shifting, they happy and then they get angry, right? Very quickly, they start getting a little depressed, right? They coordinating things becomes, it's not something that just happened erratically. It's not spontaneously. It happens very often. So you have to be watching the trend of those things. Then they start to accuse their children or someone of stealing from them, right? This person you've been with all the time, you people have been working together. All of a sudden, they have now become the bad person and stealing and doing things to you, false accusations and things. It continuously, those are things to be really looked at. In this part of the world, I've seen a lot of family members who would take their family members for examination. And one of the things they do is to check the brain, do a scan on the brain to see what may be going on with the brain. Because when dementia starts to set in, it goes right to the brain. Of course, it's a brain disease. In the next stage we have there is the what we term as the middle stage. Then, because we say it's a degenerative disease, so the declining of the brain continues. There is no new medication now to say when it sets in, you take this medication. Not the last research I looked into, there was not much. But as I said, there's a lot of things we can do to prevent some of the early onset, right? There's a greater decline in that middle stage, right? In terms of the cognitive functioning and of course the functional abilities, right? There's a lot of problems family and caregivers may have. And you give a very respectful example there, Deb, when your mother was saying, got her bag all packed and whatnot. that, of course, that family support, but you understood that this is not my mother. Something is going on here. You may not have known it was dementia or the early onset of Alzheimer, but something is going on here. And this is at a stage where family members started to say, look, we need to get mom or dad into a long-term care home where they can be more secure, because this is the time they walk right into the river. This is the time they put the coal pot on and leave it on and burn food
Burn
and
herself.
to burn down their homes, burn themselves. They could even put a hand in the hot water. If this is a woman who loves cooking, she could end up
Yes,
putting her hand in the hot water,
yes, yes. Dad,
right?
not to cut you off,
No, no,
I'm
no, go
just
ahead.
listening to you. Like I said, this thing, it affects us one way, and I'm afraid. Is it heretic? Tell me, because I'm afraid.
You know what? I do be afraid, Debbie, because the research has shown yet there's some hereditary component to it. There's some hereditary component, but we talked about some things you can do to, as we say, prevent some of the or minimize some of the early onset of it. There's some measures we need to put in place, right? So at that middle stage, the declining is more visible. At the early stage, oh, mom, you forget too much. Oh, dad, you forget too much. You just put, but we need to be watching when it's happening continuously. All right. The middle stage, it becomes more visible. And this is where family members now start to make decisions to
Exactly.
spend more time. And then the latter stage, right, we say this is where it's even worse, right? It's even worse. The person starts becoming very incoherent in their thoughts. Their speech is really becoming
Yeah.
impaired, right? They lose the capacity to even recognize people. Your own mom or dad or auntie or uncle will say to you, oh, are you Debbie?
Yes.
What is your name?
She used to ask, "What's your name? Who are you?"
Yeah,
I'm your last baby, mommy.
yeah. And that's the latter stage that they've gotten into, right? They can't even recognize others or recognize themselves, right? Even their own husbands and wives and all of that, right? And then they require more care. Now, if you want to care for that relative at home, it almost has to be 24/7,
Yes.
or if they're asleep, right? But you have to really be there, because you hear, even in North America, you hear that certain people are missing,
Yes.
right? So they get up and they just walk off and they're gone. But in this stage, most of the mobility, the walking, it's somehow compromised, right? But they become very incontinent, right? In terms of, losing and peeing and things on themselves. And you don't want your family member in that situation with pee and toilet and things all on them, right? Then the very last stage is the end stage, and this is what we call the end of life, the final months or years or so for the person living with that disease. Everything has declined. Their mental health is gone, their talking, their speech is gone, their the ability to even eat or swallow, it may not even be there. If you feed in that person, you make sure you observing the throat and make sure that the food is going down, because they pocket the food in the throat. The issues like pneumonia and those sort of things starts to set in, the lungs and all of that. So the care is it's very much intense. In most cases like this, the person is bedridden, right? And you're just giving them what we term the comfort care, waiting for the end of life to be, to come, right? So yeah, those are the stages to look for, right? And it's interesting, but it's sad, but it's interesting. If the awareness is there and you know what is going on with mom or dad or auntie or uncle or brother or sister, as we said, I've seen people in their 40s with dementia. But yeah, yeah. But if
So,
we can, yeah, go ahead,
so
Deb.
as you just explained, can we look at the treatment, therapy versus medical? Now we know some of the symptoms, we know the stages. Can we look at the treatment or therapy versus medical?
That's very good, Deb. But first of all, we looked at. You remember we talked about the how we can minimize the
Yeah,
early some of the early onset.
yeah,
Of course, it's not because something is hereditary. So we just say, my mom had it, so I will definitely get it.
yes,
You can't live like that. You try to see how, even though my mom had it, in social work we talk about the circle, even in sociology, the circle. Not because my mom was abused, so I should be abused. Not because my mom was poor, so I should be poor. You can cut down that circle of whatsoever phenomenon it is. And some of the research have shown that we need to take vitamin B. And these are medications that you can just walk in the drugstore and buy. The B vitamins are great for the immune system. Folic acid. When I take folic acid, my brain is as sharp as anything. Omega 3, 6, and 9. Great for the brain. I just learned about something again, a medication called Jingo. Very good for the brain. Vitamins for the brain. Other countries, I was told by a neurologist that of Senegal and things, they are taking those medications that really enriches the brain. Exercising. If you just eat and you don't get up to exercise, you need to get up and exercise and walk and refresh yourself. Very important. Lots of the fruits, the vegetables, and those things we need to eat. Of course, the genetic disposition, we can't question that because you didn't ask to be born, or we didn't ask to be born in those families. So those are some of the things you can do to prevent it. Another thing too you can do to prevent some of these decline in the brain is stress. We need to be careful with being stressed for every damn thing. Sometimes I listen to people and what stresses them doesn't need to happen, because when you are so stressed, the brain produces cortisol. And I know it because I have experienced it. The
okay,
brain produces the bad hormone called cortisol, and it goes right there into the system. Cortisol, when it's produced, it causes a massive number of stress, but it
wow.
attacks the heart,
I'm
the
learning a
muscle.
lot.
Yeah, it causes ulcer. Sometimes people say, why I didn't go to become a medical doctor.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Honestly, when I came to Canada, if I had a counselor at a university to really direct me, I would have become a medical doctor. But anyways, I'm doing a PhD. That's fine. But stress is bad for the body, for the brain, the entire body. So if you are someone who every little thing makes upset and angry and you stress about it, I say to people, if you can resolve something in 24 hours, do it. If you cannot, let it go and get on with your life. Kneel down, pray to God, and let it go, right? But if you want to be stressed about everything, it has an impact on you. And as we learned it today, it has an impact on the brain,
Yeah,
right? So try to get rid of some of these stressors in
okay,
your life. Now, don't get me wrong. What's happening in Liberia now with the indiscriminate killing of these people is a
yeah,
massive societal stress. Because
yeah,
someone was telling me that they can't even go out after 2 a.m. for fear
mm-hmm.
that there's some vigilante group out there that
Yeah,
may kill you. That's
yeah.
that's that's a big stressor for the entire
Entire
community.
country. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's something that need to be really mitigated and let people have the freedom of movement, right? But yeah, those are a few of the things that we need to look at. Take your vitamins, take your supplements, folic acid, the B complex group B12 is great. The omega 3, 6, and 9. Eat well. Your vegetables, your fruits. In Liberia, you got butter pear, you got oranges, you got pineapple, you got bananas, you got all of these. Try to mix your food up with some other good things to eat and develop your system. Yeah.
wow. Well, there are two things I pick up here. I always like to stress up myself over things that I got no business stressing out after 24 hours. and getting angry over stupid things that I got no business getting angry. I said, guys, I'm learning, and I believe if I'm picking up one or two things that I find myself, you know, fitting into that, situation, you guys should pick out yours and learn from it to live a better, healthy lives. That's the objective here, is educating us on how to go about living healthy. How are we going to help our old people, our older people, live a healthy life with respect? That's it, with respect, understanding them better. So, Professor, how can we link social work? Okay, when it comes to what we are discussing, how do we link social work with this how you call it gerontology? How do we link it, social work?
Well,
The role of social
gerontologic.
workers, the role of social workers in this field study.
So what you do, like what I, no, not about me, but gerontology is a specialization, is one of the many specializations of social work. So when you doing your bachelor, even a diploma, when you doing your diploma or bachelor or master's, you can specialize in gerontology. Like you can specialize in child and family services. You can specialize in working with immigrants and refugees. It's one of the specialized area that you can get right into. And your so when you have papers to write in your assignments and things, you can go into researching on the elderly. If you have your practicum to do, you can go right into that. So I know it very well because that's the area that I teach in, and I've taught few courses in gerontology where students have gone from the classroom into the field and specialize in those areas. It's a beautiful area. To all areas in social work is beautiful, but gerontology, it's so rewarding. Someone just wrote because you see the impact of what you do for the elderly person, how they say thank you so much. If even you go by the bedside and rub their hands, because people in the latter stage of dementia or Alzheimer's disease, all they need is a touch
Yes.
because they're bedridden. You just touch their hands and rub their hands. They feel that another life is around them. Yeah, yeah.
So, what is the role of family members now? Because we come into the close of this, so we want to understand, because, like I said, it has to do with us. It has to do with them. So, what's their role? What's the role of family members?
Oh, Debbie, I can say it more. If anyone listened to what you did with your beautiful, wonderful mother, that's the role we need to play. We need to have the knowledge. People say, "Oh, be patient." No, you can't be patient if you don't have the knowledge, except an innate kindness comes in, but or respect. But sometimes some people lose the temperament because this is very demanding. It's a very demanding illness or disease. You need to have the knowledge. And that's what I say all the time, that with this knowledge that God has given me, I need to share it. 2007, I did it in Gaborone, Botswana, and I plan to get out. After this COVID-19, I will be out there doing the best I can. But also in 2012, I did this at the Cooper Clinic in Monrovia, the SDA Cooper Clinic Hospital, and people were shocked to see the things that we're talking about, how it was happening right in the hospital with patients, right? So we need the education.
I hope that one day when you establish, I hope to work along with you, especially with going back home, how to disseminate the information, creating workshop, going to various schools. I hope to be there one day, working side by side and sharing this information. So let's look at the community.
No, no,
We
Deb,
started.
let me come in there. When you become a political figure, maybe you can make me the director of the elderly studies at the University of Liberia, or the director of the elderly, because every society looking at the global aging population, Every society needs to have a division of gerontology. Every society needs to have it. So yeah, absolutely, we need that
Doc,
education.
I can't get over you say when you become a political figure who know poor Deborah Pocket be. I mean, I myself, I don't know where I'll be a few years from now, but I know I have the passion for my people. I have the passion to serve and give back what I have. Look, let me tell you something. Over the years, having worked 16 years, 4 years with Save the Children, that's 20 years of Mama Point. I have been in the social work field. I work with refugees, I work with internally displaced
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
And most of the time, when those guys saw me coming, they were happy because
yeah,
I understood what they needed. I
yeah,
worked with time frame with them. I gave them what was allotted for them. And I tell you, I made an impact in lives.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So I hope to go back one day and really give more than what I have given. Yeah, that would be great. I look
And,
forward
and
to
and
that.
as we're talking today, that we the fact that we will all grow old, except we die younger. But if we continue to live, we will all grow old, and one of these diseases, it may come across it. Your
Yes.
brain would never be the same like you were born or you were 10 or 15 or 20. No, those are organs in the body that deteriorate with aging. Now, how fast some people's deteriorate is different from how slow some people do. But as we said, we can minimize or mitigate the declining process by the things we do, our lifestyle. Very important. Take your supplements. Very important, right? And those de-stress yourself as much as you can. Right. So back to family members. Family members need the education. We need the education with respect to how we work with our elderly people. In the North American context, of course, you go to school. And when you go to that school and employ to work with an elderly person, there are, policies and all of that in place. But we don't need to have policies in place to be kind, courteous, and respectful to an elderly person. We need to first of all know that they are going through things that they did not invite, right? But also we will get to that stage. Sometimes I hear people calling other people, you old lady, you
Mm-hmm.
old this. And I'm
Yes,
like, thank goodness you will never get old,
exactly.
right? Because
Yeah,
you will surely get old.
yeah.
And as part of life, this is what we have to face inevitably.
Okay, thank you, Professor. The last question, like we have here, is the role of the community. So while we will be going to the role of community, and then Doc will recap what we have discussed today. The phone line, just in case, we're going to give a 2 minutes open window to see who wants to call in and ask questions. The number to call in for those of you guys in Liberia is you can call me on the WhatsApp number because my number is associated with WhatsApp is plus 001-832-946-6885. Again, for those of you guys in Liberia that would like to call in to ask on the WhatsApp number is plus 001 plus 001 8 3 2 9 4 6 8 8 5. For those of you guys in the US, the number to call on is 832-946-6885. Professor going to discuss on the role of community as it relates to the elderly and aging. And then we'll, open the lines. You guys can call after she have, recap After she have spoke on the role of community, open the lines. If there's no call, then she will recap, and then we'll come to the end of this podcast. So, Doc, can you tell us the role of community in this whole uh, aging process?
Thank you so much, Deb. I, it's someone coming on.
No, go
I,
ahead.
you got a viewer here who Smith that we are writing some very interesting things here. One of the things I guess I would think he wants to know is it does the climate change, the climatic condition has an impact on aging, right? And that is a very interesting question because one of the research studies showed that alumina has an impact on the brain and contributed to or contributes to dementia. So, I mean, the fossil fuel and all of these that we got going on in the pollution of the environment, and we inhaling all of these things, they may have an impact on our brain, right? Because remember, we're taking in all of these, and it could definitely have an impact on the body, and the brain is a part of the body that could be affected. It. So the way we're polluting our environment can definitely, but let even talk about the stressor that we talked about. When we have caused so much global warming, and the earth has become so hot, and we have all these floods and things that are going on, and earthquakes, and how do you call that, all of these water system that destroying people's homes and all of those, and making people homeless and worried about their livelihood and all of that. It's a stressor. It's a stressor. I mean, I have to go into the scientific nature of it, but it's stress. It has an impact. So when we deteriorate the earth or the world so much, and we have all these social problems, it can definitely that we are impact the brain, because what happens is the brain produces a lot of cortisol, and that can of course lead to, according to the research, dementia. But getting back to the community, I think the communities, we have a lot to do with this. And as I always say, we look a lot to the government to do these things. Yes, the government should take charge of doing a lot of these too, but the churches, community organizations, philanthropics, businesses, you name them. I know some Lebanese people who were in Liberia forever, making millions of dollars, and other business. I'm talking about Lebanese, not to be any
Yeah,
discriminatory, but we know when we talk about business in Liberia, Lebanese, they've been there for ages, right? Indians and Pakistanis, the business community is a part of this that should be involved with this. Liberians, through what we are doing here now, Deb, with
yeah,
education and awareness, is very, very important with that to enlighten and create that awareness within the community about aging and the aging process, but also some of these diseases that comes with aging. We all need that awareness. The educational institutions, the University of Liberia, the Faculty of Social Work, the police system, the immigration system, you name all these systems in the government need to be very much aware of the aging and aging process. I don't know if the University of Liberia, the Faculty of Social Work, has a department of gerontology or specialization in gerontology. Now, this is the problem, Debbie, with Africans, or some of us Africans, but specifically Liberians. We, I don't know, sometimes if it's jealousy or it's hatred or it's ignorance, I do not know what really it is. The Faculty of Social Work at the University of Liberia in 2011 or 12, when I went down to Liberia, 2010, I met with Emmett Dennis, the then president, President Emmett Dennis,
mm-hmm.
and a dean, one of the associate deans in the Faculty of Liberal Studies. And we talked about the need for social work at the University of Liberia. We sat with him and we talked about that. And today they have nothing there. Today they have the Faculty of Social Work at the University of Liberia. That one person have called me. I'm sitting here with over 300 social work books that I'm thinking about giving to them in the library. And you can't even call. When I looked at that list one time, I saw the name of a professor from right here in Ontario. Believe you me, I had a discussion with that professor, and she talked about doing research on war affected children. She talked total bull rag in my ear. She knows nothing about it. But this is the person that you will respect. This is where racism have had a real impact on us, that we think the white man knows more than your own black person. It is very sad. I had a discussion. This lady was asking me to make her one of my supervisors. I said, I cannot do that because you bring no knowledge really to me about what I want to know. But this is the person you have and say, oh, we got a professor from Canada, a white person, when your own black person know even more than that. It's a sickness that we have, that we need to learn to appreciate one another. If you don't call me to the Faculty of Social Work to be a part of it, hey, I'm still going. I'm still going. But what heights me is our people need to know more. I sit here on your show and I can talk about global aging in the context of Liberia. I can talk about the cultural aspect of aging. You may not get a white person to really know about the aging process in Liberia. Good people, wake up your brain cells. A good friend of mine was, what's wrong with your brain cells? Wake it up
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and learn to be appreciative of what your own people can bring, right?
yeah. I tell you something, Doc. You said something. The scripture right there said it. A prophet is not honored within his own country. All right. I remember while at the university, they were just establishing, that was what, 2013, 2012. They were establishing the division of social work. At that time, it was not there. So 2013, 2014, they was just establishing this department for social work where you can go in after you graduate and go and do your master's in social work. All right. Now, having you said that you sat and you discussed or with the faculties then and the dean, and they did not reach out to you and you talk about jealousy, ignorance, and the other one, I don't know what it was. It's a combination of three of them. Our society is placed that if it's not them, then they do not promote it. All right. If they are not in a spotlight, they will never promote anything that someone bring about. If they will not benefit from it, they will not want to be part of it. They will not want to share it. They will not want to promote you. All right. And the last thing is we prefer foreigner over ourselves. I tell you this. Having worked here since I came here, I tell you something. If you have a black supervisor, or if you a person of color, and you tell your fellow person of color, a black person, and say, "Oh, can you do this? It would be best. Can you move over and do this?" I'll tell you something. They will argue. They will look at you as being crazy. In fact, said they will start to plot and say a lot of negative things about you. But if a white supervisor come and tell us, say, look, can you move this? They will move. Can you go over there? They will move. And if they keep moving them around, they will move. We do not respect our color. And until the black people's mind can be transformed and realize that self-respect starts with us as a person, as Africans. They're white. I'm not against them. I'm not a racist person. But until we can love and appreciate us as Africans, African will always be called the third world country, will always be called the dark continent of Africa, because our mind is so shallow. Our thinking capacity is so narrow minded that we don't see a broader perspective of how to cohabitate, of how to coexist with one another. That this person is good in technology. I am in a social field. If we combine things, we can move whatever we want to achieve in life. And it saddened me to see that you filled with so much knowledge that can transform the university, not only the university, but also the health sector. And that's why I told the president at that time, Dr. Dr. George Manuel Weah. 2018, if you go to my past podcast, there were certain things that are suggested rather than calling Nigerians to come and revamp our educational sectors. We have people that are schooled within this. They have their expertise. Bring them in, let them play their role. And when they feel within themselves that they are limited, then they too will say, look, let's reach out to our brethren or our neighbors and call them in to help us. But there are a lot of Liberians out there, like a guy that I was going out with, one erasing Manta. He teaches statistics and calculus in New Jersey. That is someone when you bring him into the or mathematical or department, all right? He will transform the university. Why is it we don't respect one another? And that's what my platform is. Independence mind changer. There's so many things behind that. Independence mind changers. It starts with us. So, guys, the line is open. If you guys want to call 2 minutes and ask any question with Doc because she's about to leave, is if not, Doc, can you recap what we have said? We spoke of gerontology, we spoke about social work, specialization, the need why we should have gerontology with social work, statistics on global aging, illness associated with aging. We look at dementia, Alzheimer's diseases. We look at the difference, we differentiate between dementia, Alzheimer's. We talk on the type and stages of dementia. We look at the treatment therapy versus medical. We look at the role of social worker. We look at the family role. We look at the community role. Doc, can you recap? While she's recapping, if anyone wants to come in and ask any questions, you can. If not, we will be closing after Doc have done her recap.
Well, thank you so much, Deb. I think you did a recap there already with listing all the topics that we touched on this morning. But I can say that it is gerontology. It's a wonderful field. The mere fact is we will all age. We are all aging. If you think about the fact that you were born and as a baby, and today you are who you are in terms of age. Every year you celebrate a birthday. That's an additional age to your life. But that's not only just the chronological age, but physiologically we are all aging, and with that comes um, inevitably some of these illnesses, right, that we have or very limited control over. And if that happens, including dementia, that we talked about the focus of this topic or this interview or so, how do we live a more passionate and responsible, caring life with people around us, with those who are to provide the necessary services, whether formal service with gerontological social workers or informal service with our family members in the larger community system. How do we make society better for the aged or the older folks or the elderly or our grandparents or just individuals who are broken down with some of these diseases like dementia? How do we make their lives more pleasant as they go through these issues? But in so doing, we need to make ourselves aware of the fact that the globe is aging. By 2030, 2050, we'd be having billions of people who are 65 and over, and millions or so who are 80 and over. That to me should not be scary, but it should just be a way of educating people
Guys, hold on. We're experiencing a little network
to our
problem.
older population, then who can we be respectful toward, right? And you don't want to see them sitting on the street and begging. You don't want to see that. I know someone told me Samuel Stracker in Morovia provides, on Saturday, he provides food for the older people around there. You know, he gave them rice and other things. Fantastic. In Botswana, they have something they call the food basket that they give to older people in the communities. Those are things that, you know, Liberia, if they're not doing, they should start looking at doing and seeing how best we can help the older people live in Botswana a more a respectful life. In Botswana, they did that because a lot of the younger people were dying from HIV/AIDS, so they left the older people, and then they by then they didn't really have the medications, but now there are better medications around that prolongs life. So we need to take into the consideration the global aging population and the need for diversification of programs and services to better the lives of people. And a lot of that doesn't have to be, as we said, with gerontological social workers, but the wider society need to learn, have the education, knowledge, awareness, consciousness. Consciousness. It's very important to these. The schools of social work in Liberia, I know there are some other colleges that are offering social work. The UMU, I've given one or two books or so to them there, the University of Liberia, um, all of the other system, the police, the immigration, the hospitals, they they all need to be aware of the agent, right? By giving an older person medication to sleep because they are shouting too much, you could kill them in their sleep. That is not a remedy to that situation. Don't get me wrong, it's tough, but that is not a remedy to that situation. We need to find other ways and means. And we talked about the activity and the continuity theories.
Yeah.
What did they like doing? So you sit with family members and say, what did mom like doing when she was much younger?
Yes.
Right? So you try to plan programs and activities around that. Some people like playing tennis. Some of the
Yeah.
long-term care homes, they have tennis, bowls, and other things. If they can move, you know, can go and play those games and things and make themselves, you know, happier. So yeah, those are things we need to look at. Dementia is there. It's a disease of the brain. We can minimize it to a certain level by taking our supplements. Omega 3, 6, and 9, very good for the brain. I'll tell you, because I've been stressed before. Sometimes, not too long ago, I could get a little squishing in my brain there, right? I could feel, you know, when you stress, it's like water in the
Yeah.
brain, and it can have a long-term impact. It was massive, and now it's just very little I feel sometimes because I was so stressed that I fell off and fell on my head.
Oh
If
my
my son
God.
was not around, I would have been dead. But he was
Wow.
around to pick me up, call the military, you know, the paramedics and things. So I still felt that little squishing on my brain. But the
Yeah.
minute I started taking my omega 3, 6, and 9, it was gone. So take your supplements, the B supplements, omega 3, 6, and 9, folic acid,
Okay.
very good. Folic acid, very good for the immune system. Eat well. Don't
Thank you.
say, you know, I don't care what I do. Mom and dad had Alzheimer's, I will get it. You don't have to get it because mom and dad had it. Although you can't control, you know, the hereditary nature of it. But learn to care for, we need to learn to care for ourselves, right? And of
Thank
course,
you, sir.
believe in God. You know, pray to the Lord and ask Him for knowledge and wisdom.
Doc, before you leave, can I ask you three questions?
Sure.
One, what's your recommendation to the government? What can you say to our government? Two, What can you say to faculties of the University of Liberia or universities? Because it's not only the University of Liberia, maybe other universities or board members will be watching and maybe they might need your expertise. And lastly, what can you say to us as Liberians or whoever is watching? What can you say to us in your closing statement?
Well, to the government of Liberia, I say if you don't have the Department of Aging, you need to start thinking about doing that now. I would be very, very much willing to contribute to if called upon because we will all age. We are all aging. If I age here in North America, I could end up in a long-term care home where services will be provided. An aging person in Liberia, I'll tell you this that I heard, and from doctors and nurses in the hospital, because of the limited awareness of these diseases we just talked about, when older folks start to show the signs and symptoms of dementia, which a lot of family members do know about, they take them to the hospital and leave them there. I heard
Hmm.
it a lot. My sister is a nurse. A
Wow.
lot of them, they take them there and leave them
Dump
there.
them.
And leave
Wow.
them there. Because it's a tough thing to deal with,
Yes, I know.
right? I mean,
I know, Mama.
yeah, to come and see mom and dad have gone to the toilet and playing with the toilet, it's a tough thing. Even here in North America, if you with an older person who has dementia, Alzheimer's, and you put that depend on them, and you don't go checking them, they can rip that thing off and play with it,
Exactly, and put it all over the place.
and
Yeah.
put it all over. So you can imagine in a society where people are not even educated about this, right? So the government needs to have the Department of Aging. And how do you get, people will say, how do we get the staff to provide those services? The Faculty of Social Work at the University of Liberia, all of the other colleges in Liberia that have social work departments or schools of social work need to have the specialization in gerontology. I would be willing to help you develop the curriculum
Thank you so
with
much.
respect to that, in terms of the courses around that. Liberians, as Liberian citizens, we need to learn. This program today is a beautiful one. Take the video, learn from it, listen to what has been discussed. Go on the internet, Google what is gerontology. You will read a lot about it. Educate yourself if you can read and write. Go ahead and doing that. And once you've done that, create that education and awareness and so forth, learn to put it into practice. We got a saying that practice makes
Make
perfect.
perfect. Yeah.
Learn to put it into practice. Start to volunteer with older people. Go to your friend. If you don't have an older person, go to your friend's house or your whosoever place and observe an older person. Help to care for them.
Yeah.
A lot of the kids that do it, go and volunteer. Let the government try to help young people to get into this whole idea of volunteering. If you even you would pay them something to volunteer. Have some centers in Monrovia where older people can go and have a little tea or coffee or something. Develop some programs and services for them, right? But we need to start doing that, which is right first, in order to develop more expert knowledge on it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, guys, um, would like to say thank you to our special guest. This is her day. Every other Monday, she will be coming up with interesting topic. Maybe within the course of the week, we will come up with the next topic. Doc, do you have the next topic or next week?
Well, we touched on the next topic a bit, and that is racism, race and race
Racism.
relations,
Racism.
race and race relation. And I can tell you, I'm very blunt. If you think you're blunt with political issues, I'm very blunt with race and race relation in the North American context. I've taught it at the college, university, and I just open it up there and I tell exactly what it is. Because if you talked about some of the impediments in life, especially in North American society here, that immigrants and refugees experience, racism plays a big. We just saw George Floyd. What happened to this man? When a
Yeah.
policeman got his knee on this man's head till he killed him. I was stunned. I was looking at the video and I thought I was in a different world until they lifted this man into the car and took him off,
Yeah.
and I heard he was dead.
Yeah.
Up to this time, I cannot believe how another human being will put their knee on someone and put his hands in his freaking pocket and
Mm-hmm.
looking elsewhere while that person is dying. It
Mm-hmm.
must be the disrespectfulness or disregard for another human life because of the color of their skin. So
Wow.
that's the next topic I want us to look at, race and race relation.
Guys,
But
you heard it. The
uh,
next topic, watch me, watch my page, read my page, share this live, keep watching, keep reading, keep sharing, keep conducting your own research because I mean the topic, everything is on my page. You watching the video, you yourself can go to Google the topic, and you will better understand more of what Doc was saying right there. So, Professor would like to say thank you. It's a
thank you so
pleasure, like I said, always sitting at your feet and just drinking it in and just drinking it in. I said, oh God, I want to be like this woman. Yes, thank you for being a mentor. Thank you for helping to broaden our scope of knowledge on how things that we felt we knew, things that we did not know. We like to say thank you so much, thank you so much. Anything you want to say, last?
Well, thank you very much. I do have as I say, I run my own private business there. My website there is gecccounselingservices.com. If people have questions, I'll be updating my blog and things where I can do a lot of writing. So I love. You think I love talking? I love writing, and I know people drove me. They I'm the chaplain of the Newtown Association in America's Nectar, but I do a lot of writing, and I know one time they complained and drove me, almost drove me out, but it's just part of my life. I love sharing knowledge. So, for
Yeah.
people interested in that, you can go to that site, ask me questions. I'll definitely answer you on these topics. If we don't share knowledge, we have all the knowledge and we die with it,
Thank you
right?
so much.
Yeah. Thank you
Thank you so
very
much.
much. Yeah.
Guys, this is the end of our program. We close it with a song called Where Do Broken Hearts Go? Where do our old people broken hearts go? Enjoy the song, Facebook. I have no copyright to the song playing in the background. Enjoy. Back to the open arms of a love that's waiting there. And it's someone. Yes, guys. Won't they always love you? I look in your eyes and I know that you still care. Facebook, I have no copyright to this song playing in the background. I love music, guys. We talk about therapy versus uh medical. When you are stressed, when you are alone as you age and you have no one to talk to, turn to the word of God, pray, believe that with God all things are possible. But being as we are, as humans, we have to ensure that we live the best of life. And my way of releasing stress is by listening to music. I used to read at an early age. The pick up the volume was better for me. But as I age and move into the work circle, I'm tired. So I listen to music and watch documentary. Thank you. Where to? Happy Sunday to all. Afterwards, I might come back on the fiery ground. But when I do this kind of nice life, I don't like to go back on the political field because then I'm in my deco. I want to fight for ordinary Liberians, fight for the voiceless. But I can't do it today. I won't do it today. Maybe I might lie around. Maybe it's something really catch my heart, especially what happened last night with our dearest brother, Timothy Sonny Boy Smith. Um, I was kind of disturbed. I did not sleep until after 3, and I had to get up early this morning to prepare for this life. But the song is Where Do Broken Hearts Go? Take it to the Lord in prayer. Take it to God in prayer. He understands. He's the way maker. And then listen to music. Where to broken hearts go? When they find their way home. Back to an open arms. Open your arms. Be your brother's keeper. All right? Be someone that will be there for someone. You don't have to come from the same mom, the same part. Be your brother's keeper. Love, share with one another. Oh, yes. But I let it slip. Sometimes we have love. Sometimes we do have the open arms, but we don't know how to appreciate those that are standing in the gap for us, those that truly love us. Liberians, this is not the time for division. This is the time for us to show love, agape love, because where can we go? There's only one country that we call our own, and that's Mama Liberia. But when we have destroyed by our greed, by our evilness, where can we go? We need to rethink. We need to look at Liberia as one. Let us show love. Fellow Liberians, I must bring this live to an end because I'm kind of tired. The song was Where Do Broken Hearts Go? We don't want to be alone. No one wants to be alone. No one wants to continue grieving alone as a family, as it is with Gifty and Peters and Ninswa and Buto. Please let us forget about our hatred. Let us forget about this power greed. Let us love one another. Liberia is so big, there's so much that each of us can enjoy one another. Please let us put God first in our lives. I love you guys. Have a blessed, blessed, blessed Sunday. Remember, age is not political. Age has to do with us as a person. It has to deal with us as our livelihood. We all will get old from the day we were born until we die. We are aging daily. Listen to the podcast. Listen to this podcast. Listen to the podcast. Please share it. Sit and discuss it with your children. I love you, God. Peace on the black hand side. God love you. God bless you. And God keep you. Have a blessed, blessed Sunday. Thank you for watching.